Michael Skogg. Michael is the creator of the Skogg system, a comprehensive kettlebell functional movement strength method developed for the athletes to improve their strength, speed, and power. Michael is a world-renowned kettlebell coach, educator, writer, and leader in the functional industry. He owns and operates a successful rehabilitation conditioning center specialized in corrective movement. You may recognize Mike as a national kettlebell writer trainer for the WIDO system. He developed and he's featured in 4 of their instructional DVDs before developing the Skogg system. Michael currently develops, tests, and I'm having a hard time reading this myself. Shares his system in the Skogg gym, located in Pearl District, Portland, Oregon. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you Michael Skogg.
Good morning. Good morning. Everybody hear me? Okay. My name is Michael Skogg, as you heard from my introduction. I own a gym, a kettlebell gym specific, in Portland, Oregon. I've been swinging kettlebells for a long, long time, and I have the opportunity to come here and share my passion and my knowledge with you this morning. And for that, I'd like to thank the CSCCA for giving me this opportunity to do so. And I'd also like to thank Tom Grace. I think that's Tom. I can't tell. Is that your son, Tom? Anyway, Tom Grace from Black Iron Strength. He is the sponsor of this 1-hour block. I'm manning his booth. So if any of you have any questions about kettlebells or his equipment, please feel free to come see me. I will be living there for the next couple days. You've probably seen me at a few conferences in the past. I'm new to this tour. I'm new to presenting to a group this big. I've got a new laser pointer. I've never had one of these before. I think that's pretty cool, and now I have a good reason to have one. Skogg system. Skogg system is a kettlebell system, but more than that, it is about functional training and movement. I've been swinging bells for 25 plus years. I learned in the military. I was stationed in Scotland, and I had the luxury of living next to a Highland Games competitor. And day in, day out, I'd watch him do his workouts, and one day it just sucked me in. I couldn't take it anymore. So I asked, "What are you doing?" And he stuck a 70-pound kettlebell in my hand, and as a 17-year-old kid, I wasn't going to set it down unless I broke. And that was the beginning of my journey. And ever since then, the kettlebell has been a part of my fitness foundation. I've done plenty of stuff. I've done the powerlifting. I've done the endurance sports. I've done the bodybuilding. If there was a path to take in fitness, I was looking at taking it. But the kettlebell never left my toolbox. I find that it's probably the most effective piece of equipment that I own. In fact, I feel like it's so effective, I took a risk and I opened up a gym. In fact, this is a picture of my gym in the Pearl. It's not very big. It's a boutique-style gym, 3,000 square feet, but I have about 300 kettlebells there. We beat on tires and we throw sandbags and we do all kinds of other big movement stuff, a lot of dynamic work. But kettlebell is our message. In fact, we have a leveling system, and until you've reached the level 3, you don't even get to touch any of the other toys. All you're going to work with is a kettlebell. I believe that you master a bell and you will develop not only body awareness, but a solid, strong core, and your injuries, the chances go down when it comes to training. So that's why we push that. It's a standalone system. To tell you that I built my body with only a kettlebell would be a lie. That's not true. But I can tell you this, for the last 4 years, all I do is swing bells. That's how I stay in shape. I'm 44 years old. I've done lots and lots and lots of bench pressing in my time, and I've destroyed my shoulders in the process. This, swinging bells, got me back to working out like I used to. I can work out like I'm a child, like I'm an 18-year-old again. So I can't say enough about it. It's exciting. It's good stuff. And where are you going to go nowadays and not hear about this? The kettlebells are showing up in almost every fitness publication released. You can't pick up a magazine without seeing it. They've been around a long, long time. And we're going to start off by really talking about the history of the bell. I'm not going to teach you how to swing a bell. That's not why I'm up here. I'm just going to tell you why I think it has so much value. Now, it is just a tool. There's my bell. So A would be the body, B is the bottoms. This seems simple, but when you get into some of these workouts, we actually call out specific parts of the bell that you need to pay attention to. So that's why I'm giving you this remedial outline. You got the horns and the handle. My system, I've taken everything I've known. I've got a corrective exercise background. I owned and operated a rehab facility in Green Bay, Wisconsin, before I moved to Portland. I dealt with injuries. I dealt with all kinds of injuries from athletes to the general public, and I used the kettlebell to rehab a majority of my problems, especially when it came to shoulders and low backs. It's a great tool to work out with, but it has tremendous therapeutic value as well. And as this bottom line says, it is developed with all ability levels in mind. We do have a leveling system as a part of our program. And you can start as somebody who's just walked in off the street and never done a day of exercise in your life, or you can be a professional athlete. I've trained all different walks. I've got a 72-year-old woman who did nothing but yoga until the last 6 months, and now she's banging out sets of push-ups like she was just coming out of boot camp. I mean, it's pretty impressive what a kettlebell can do to you. And what it really does is it lights up your body. It gets you moving as one unit. You don't compartmentalize your training program. You don't have a back and biceps day or a chest and triceps day or a cardio day or a backside day or a front side day. It's every day. It's all body every day. And you don't work out to the point of hypertrophy. So there's no tearing involved. There's no recovery periods needed before you revisit that muscle group. It's active recovery. You're moving. It's all compound stuff and it's dynamic. And the crossover from kettlebell to sports is pretty evident. I don't know if there are any swingers in here, but if you've done it, it speaks to you. This is mindful movement stuff. Now, there are a lot of groups out there that preach the kettlebell. I'm not saying my sermon is any better than theirs or that mine is right or wrong. What I'm saying is it's mine. And because it's mine, I've done everything I can to make sure that it is the best that I can offer for anybody that comes through and uses my services. A lot of groups out there have used the kettlebell as almost like this. It had a subculture that surrounded it, and it was really set for tough guys and strong men. Well, it's not an event like that anymore. This is general public stuff. In fact, it's the #2 growing fitness fad in the world. And this is not a typo. I mean, this is going to stand the test of time. It's been around a long time. Is it just another fitness fad? I suppose. It's been around since 4000 BC. You think it'll survive another 500 years? I do. So, is it a fad? Well, if it falls under that definition, then I guess it is. What makes this superior to any other equipment? You get all this in one neat package. So strength, power, flexibility, coordination, endurance, hand-eye coordination, balance, all kinds of things that you really kind of set out on different paths to achieve. You get all this in one neat package. And you know what's really cool about this? It's portable. It has a handle on it. You can carry it wherever you want. In fact, had I not been coming to a destination like Orlando, I would have packed a kettlebell in a bowling bag and checked it as luggage and brought my gym with me, because that's what I do. I know that wherever I go, whatever hotel I visit, chances are they're not going to have what I need, which is this. So I bring it with me. This is probably the best home gym available, in my opinion. By the way, this kettlebell, I'm sure all of you have seen the cast iron type. Looks like a cannonball with a handle on it. Well, this is not. This is a modern kettlebell. We're calling it the American kettlebell because, for one, it's made here in America, and two, we are taking hold of this and calling it our own. It has a spinning handle. Big benefit to this is you don't have that friction across the palm, so it leaves your calluses where they belong, on your hand. Another thing it gives you is speed. Very, very smooth action on this bell, and I think we all know that training with speed develops power, and power is key to just about any sport that you're going to service here. Is a kettlebell all I need? Well, that's all I need. I'm not saying it's all you need. It's just another tool. And if you're like any other craftsman out there, having a full toolbox is going to be to your advantage. Now, if you can find a place in your program for a kettlebell, whether it's just for the conditioning or whether you're using it for a coordination drill, or if you have a group of kids that are easily distracted, that can't stand hitting the weight room because of the ho-hum rep counting, put a kettlebell in their hand. Get them swinging a bell, moving it around in all kinds of different movement patterns. And you're going to watch their eyes light up. This is fun. This is a fun workout. Anytime you can take work and make it fun, you win, especially when you're dealing with young athletes. And this is something that'll stick with them. And this is cool, too. I know we're going a little down the age scale, but kids can do this. You do not have to be an adult and through your growth cycles and concerned about muscle development and bone development. Kids can swing this bell because it's full body stuff. So getting a kid 8, 9, 10 years old swinging something like this around is going to give them a body awareness that they're just not going to find unless they're on the playground. And let's face it, we've all been working out all our lives. And it was called play on the playground when we were this big, running around, hanging on the monkey bars, moving in these different planes. And that's fun. That is working out to a child. As we become adults, we get plainer. We move forward and backward, side to side, up and down. We lose all of this. So this disappears from our training routines. Swinging a bell, this is a radial motion. My resistance angle is changing every time I move this bell. So I am feeling a push and a pull with almost every exercise that I do. And we all know how important it is to push and pull. Body awareness. I can't talk about it enough. Oh, what happened here? Do you know how to get me out of this jam? Oh, there we go. All right, thank you. All right, it's just a tool. Conventional lifting versus kettlebell. Conventional lifting, you isolate. You lift weights from the outside in. Benefits, looks good. Performs great in isolation, performs great in the task at hand. So if it's a planar movement, training planar works well. But it does lack simple balance and coordination. If you're in a fixed track, you're going to be strong in that fixed track, but find yourself on your back underneath a pile of guys, and you may not find that fixed track. Swinging a bell works the entire body. It's an integration of movement patterns. It fixes functional imbalances. This is something that I like to throw out at people that come to see me for the first time. And this goes back to my corrective background, and that is, hey, if you've got an imbalance in your body and it's aesthetic or it's functional, the kettlebell is going to find it, it's going to exploit it, and it's going to fix it. And it's going to do it quickly. You're moving, you're swinging this thing around. You're going to be making adjustments. Things are going to occur inside your body that you don't even realize. You are going to light it up. And back to compartmentalizing your workouts. So often, people have a tendency to split their body at the equator, the waistline. So where does ab training fall in your split? Do you throw it in with your lower half? Do you throw it in with your upper half? When you swing a bell, this is the focus of the exercise. So you don't have a sag in your bridge. Your bridge is strong, connecting your upper and lower half. Protects your back. Well, if you have a healthy back, you're going to have a healthy body. Your body works better when you integrate rather than isolate. Where does it come from? All right. So there's a mythology out there that this bell, this exercise, came from Russia. In 1947, Russia adapted it as their national training method. Now, word has it, whether you were a figure skater or a power lifter, if you were an Olympian, you were training with a kettlebell. Substantiated? Not sure. Like I said, a mythology has been created that Russia was the founder. Truth be told, over 200 years ago, in the Highland Games, the Scottish were using kettlebells, and they were dual purpose. They used them for curling, which is a big stone you slide on the ice. I'm not a curler. I don't know the draw to that sport, but must be fun, right? They're still doing it. And during the Highland Games, they were swinging bells. They were throwing them. So swinging them became a part of a Highland Games competitor's routine, body awareness. Whenever you swing a bell, your center is always adjusting. You're always aware of where that balance point is, and you are the counterbalance to this resistance. China, the Han Dynasty, 206 BC to 200 AD. They swung, let me see if I have an illustration, yes. They swung stone blocks. They were called locks, stone locks. Now, they weren't round like the kettlebell you see today. They were primarily square with softened edges, but they had a handle on it, and it was an odd load. So they were known for flipping, swinging, and snatching stone locks. And it goes back even further than that. So now we've crushed that 1947 claim that Russia owns this, because we know now that the Chinese have a leg up on them as well. India, Egypt, ancient India and Egypt. There's evidence of paintings on the Beni Hassan tomb, 4000 BC, paintings of kettlebells. Now, I don't know about you, but growing up, I had this picture in my head of the slaves that built the pyramids. I thought these were sickly guys. They were strapped together, hauling big blocks of stone to put in place to create these pyramids, with a guy with a whip at their back. Well, let's be real. The people that were building the pyramids were probably working in the construction trade. And they probably knew the benefit to training. They probably knew that in order to do their job proper, to do it well, they needed to be strong. Why not, right? Why not swing a bell? Back then, they had rocks to lift and logs and things like that. Well, lifting odd loads like that, if it's heavy, I don't know about you, but I have this need inside of me to lift it. And if it's an odd load, I want to lift it even more. So why not take a rock and put a handle on it and treat it like a real tool, a tool that has a purpose? So, Mesopotamia, 4000 BC. I'm going to give it to them, even though I learned in Scotland. All right, so let's take a look at a scientific approach. All right, we're going to analyze kettlebell training versus weight training for power output, not for efficacy. Power output plus the efficiency over 30 minutes gives you X. X is your output in watts. Wattage, kilowatts. That is a common way to measure power output. And I'm going to show you just exactly what that looks like when we're putting numbers and movement to it. So our test subject, 187-pound male. This is a 30-minute workout. He's going to complete a rep every 2.5 seconds. And as you can see, this is a pretty typical leg workout. We got a bar squat, we got a leg press, machine leg extension, leg curl, and a split squat on a Smith. The weights aren't tremendous, but they're enough. You're going to feel this. You're going to feel it the next day, I'm sure. 50 reps of anything is going to certainly give you a lasting memory. So we've got 225 pounds, 5 sets of 10. There's your watt total, 750 watts. Leg press, 600 pounds, roughly. There's your watt total. Leg extension, 150 pounds, 120 pounds on the leg curl, and 150 pounds on the split squat. Now this was put together, it was a book called Hardcore Bodybuilding, A Scientific Approach. These numbers are pulled from that reference. So as you can see, you will see, because now I'm going to show you what a kettlebell workout, a typical kettlebell workout in my facility using my system would look like. So we got a double kettlebell squat at 35 pounds apiece. So you got a 70-pound total. Not tremendous. There are certainly a lot of guys that could do a lot more than that. 721 watts. All right, bent over row. Just a typical bent over row. Had to throw that in because it was conventional. And I certainly do like conventional movements as well. 2 35-pound bells again, so we're at 70 pounds total. Double clean and press. 2 60-pound kettlebells. 123 pounds total. Look at that wattage. That's big stuff. Double cleans, double snatch. Total output, 2.27 kilowatts with that leg training workout, 13.4 kilowatts with the kettlebell workout. Power. If you guys are looking for power, if you're looking to train power and you're not using this, you're missing out. There's something to be said about training with this. This is fast, hip accelerated exercise. And using hips as your driving point, you're not going to go wrong. Results are dramatically different, 6 times that of conventional weight training. Introducing power movements, minimal rest, improve the power output exponentially, not to mention the cardiovascular benefit from an elevated heart rate. All right, this is not for football only. I'm a big fan of Olympic lifts. I know not everybody has that same opinion, but I have a powerlifting background. I can't imagine not doing hang cleans, especially if I was a football player. Well, I'm going to show you how to do cleans. I'm not going to teach you. I'm just going to show you how to do cleans, and I'm going to compare them with doing it with a bar. I have a bar up here as well. I don't know if you can see it. I don't have any weight on it. But I know one thing. I know when I first learned how to do hang cleans, I was doing it with a broomstick for about a month just to get my technique down. Because the learning curve for Olympic lifts is long. Well, I can teach you how to do a clean with a kettlebell in about 3 minutes. Learning curve is cut substantially. Plus, I'm not hanging that bar in front of my body, preloading my lumbar. My load is directly underneath my body. So there is no compromise in my low back. When I get that bar into position, I've got torque in my elbows and wrists. When I roll my kettlebell into rack, I can naturally pronate and supinate and pull to rack position and feel zero torque in my wrists, elbows, or shoulders. May not be important now as a young athlete in your 20s, but in your 40s, that makes a difference. You know, all this stuff adds up. I mean, your body has a shelf life. And I'm feeling my shelf life this morning, actually. We ran a certification yesterday, and a few of you in here were there. It was 4 hours of movement. We swung bells for 4 hours straight. Wished you would have been there. It was a good workout. I'm feeling it. Best way to improve acceleration. Anybody know? I'm sure you all know. Development of power. What is power? Power is strong and fast. So you train speed with speed. Power-based sports, slow movements are the wrong way to train. Now I'm just gonna say this. This is my opinion, but I believe that doing heavy deadlifts and heavy squats, you're missing that speed component. That's great for strength building, but as far as power goes, that's not as effective as fast movement. Coaches have stated for years, if you want to be fast, train fast. Kettlebell is developed with speed training in mind. We're going to talk about the swing, just to illustrate that. It's the most basic of movements. It's a hip drive movement. We bifold, giving us long levers. The longer the lever, the more the leverage. Whenever I trifold, I'm breaking the length of my levers. So I am essentially cutting my power in half. If I'm hinging at the hips, am I cutting in and out? No? Okay. All right. I'm hinging at the hips. I'm using my whole posterior chain, so my hamstrings get involved. Every time I drive my hips forward, My hip flexors are getting involved, and I'm getting quad squeeze. So I'm getting the entire lower half involved with the right kind of hip drive for a kettlebell swing. If I swing with my knees, every time I drop, I've got a power leak out my knees because I am breaking that lever. It's not efficient. You're going to fatigue eventually if you swing like that. And what happens when you fatigue? You start to compensate. And compensations end up in injuries. You swing with your knees with a vertical power stroke, and that load is going to eventually be right in the low back. You swing with the hips, you're splitting that load front and back. It's a posterior-anterior movement. A lot of hamstring action. How do you increase your speed? Hamstring involvement. Just pointed that out. Present day uses. Not only is it being pushed to the general public by groups like the American Council on Exercise, but the military's been using kettlebells for a while. Easy to transport. Taking a kettlebell into the field is a lot easier than bringing a squat rack. They also tuck away in nice, neat places. Government agencies, they've been using them for a long time as well. In fact, the CIA has a standard, a testing standard, and it happens to be with a kettlebell. So it shows you just what kind of value training with something like that can have. College and professional athletes. Last year I went to Penn State and trained. I certified all of their strength coaches and all their programs. That's why they're at the top of the list. 2 weeks later, Penn State was no more. Well, Penn State still is, but not the Penn State I knew anyway. Tennessee Titans, San Francisco 49ers, Boston Celtics, Utah Jazz, and Lance Armstrong. I had to put him up there. That guy is arguably probably the best athlete in the world in his realm. I mean, who beats Lance? Lance shows up at an event and people tremble. Utah Jazz. They've been swinging bells for a while. Utah Jazz shows up to Portland and the Blazers tremble. They get pushed around. The Blazers get pushed around by the Jazz. Why is that? They're strong. You know, this is third period, fourth quarter conditioning stuff here. This is stuff that's going to, let's face it, you all get on the field, first quarter, first period, it's an equal field. Your skill sets are pretty well matched. Where are you going to give it up? You're going to give it up in conditioning. So if you're not ready for fourth quarter or third period because you've suffered somewhere along the way, be like the Jazz. Swing bells. That'll get you through those hard times. I love to set up my workouts to the clock. I use a 4-to-1 ratio. So that means if I train for 4 minutes, I'm going to take 1 minute to rest. And those 4 minutes are going to be the best 4 minutes that I can give you. And then I'm going to recover. Because let's face it, that's the way we were programmed. Short bursts, big, heroic bursts, followed by recovery. And this goes back to when we were chasing food or being chased because we were the food. Ultramarathons, that wasn't part of our genetic profile. Ultra endurance exercise. Celebrities, there's quite a few. I had to put them up there as well because I've worked with a few. Health benefits, great way to strengthen your back, your entire back. All your spinal erectors get a lot of attention, a lot of focus when you're doing a kettlebell workout. Strengthens your glutes, stretches your hip flexors. I can walk down this hallway and get behind a group of meatheads and tell that they've got tight hips. You know how I can tell? Because they rotate when they walk. They throw their legs from side to side. Now, if you have nice, loose hips, if you're pliable, you walk with an open stride. Now, you're probably all going to watch my stride after we leave here, but it's true. You can tell a guy that has tight hips by the way he walks, by the way he moves. My hips are loose. My hips, I'm telling you, I play like I'm 18. I come from the MMA world. I spent a lot of time there. That's a young man's sport. I finally gave it up only because fighters are broke. And at some point, you got to make a decision. Do I keep doing this for the love of the game, or do I need to get paid for this? And I decided it was time to get paid. But my first gym was a kettlebell fight gym in Portland. And I trained a lot of pros. A lot of UFC fighters came through my facility. And those guys are true athletes. They're swinging bells. These guys are limber. Man, they can tie you up in a knot and have some left over to tie themselves in a knot. Those guys they're tough to work with, too, I'm not going to lie. Anyway, my point was, I can still function like I'm a teenager. I swing bells. I'm limber. Okay, it forces spinal stability. You talk about abdominal bracing. We don't do crunches. We don't do knee raises. Well, we do when people request them, because it seems like at some point in our lives we've all been programmed that we need to do ab exercises in order to have a well-rounded fitness routine. Well, when you swing a bell, because everything is all here, focused here, you can't get away from working here. So we don't do crunches. We get all of our abdominal bracing from swinging. Strengthens your core with ballistic movement. This is ballistic dynamic movement. Some of the methods I use: rounds, intervals, ladders, flow, ascending, descending pyramids, sets, supersets, giant sets, and Tabata. That means I take my exercises, and I have, probably 150 kettlebell exercises that I use, and I plug them into these methods. So I will run rounds. I'll do, like I said, 4-minute rounds with 1-minute rest. I may do 5 4-minute rounds, get through it, and call it my workout. All done. Intervals. I'll take 2 exercises, place them back to back, assign a number to each exercise. Again, maybe I'm going to the clock, of course. I'm going to do a 4-minute round. I may go 30 seconds per move. I've got 2 moves, so I'm going to use opposing forces. I'm going to always use an antagonistic pattern. If I'm swinging, I don't want to add another swing right behind it, because I don't want to overtax one area of my body. So now I may change from a radial movement pattern to a more vertical power stroke. So at least I'm giving active recovery to whatever it was I just worked in the previous exercise. And I'll run my intervals like that. A ladder. I think everybody knows what a ladder is. You ladder up or you ladder down, starting with 1 rep, working your way to 10, adding a rep every time you go, or taking 1 away. Ladders. Flow. I love flows. A flow is several exercises placed back to back. And the trick to this is 1 exercise leads up to the next exercise. So there's a flow pattern developed. You don't set the bell down, you don't reposition, you don't grab a different bell. It's movement patterns, one into the next. It's fun. You have to be there. You're not rep counting. You've got to be there for each and every one of these movements. You don't put in your headphones and tune out. You have to be very mindful of your movement. Ascending, descending pyramids, we know what that is. Sets, supersets, giant sets, Tabata. Do a 4-minute round of snatches for 20 seconds each arm with 10 seconds rest. Or pick an exercise, and you can smoke yourself real good. Formats, I always look for a push-pull, so I will stack those 2 back to back. Upper, lower body, no reason I can't split at the equator. Anterior, posterior, radial, linear, transverse, and sagittal. Now, what sport doesn't require rotational strength? Just by swinging this bell with one arm, this is a sagittal plane exercise. Transverse plane exercise, even though I'm swinging it out in front of me. Because I am odd loaded, I am one side. So my body automatically wants to do this. And the other half of my body doesn't allow it, and it is active, and it is controlling my posture. So I get a lot of transverse activation just by doing a simple swing. Now I can do something like a figure eight with a hold, where I make it really obvious that I've got a rotation. Got a bunch of those. I've got a lot of exercises that I plug into my programs. It's not just snatches, swings, and presses. We are pulling this thing, we are popping it up, we are pressing it, we're using it in conventional methods too. Nice thing about this particular bell is because it has a swiveling handle, is I can use it conventionally. There's no reason I can't curl this or front raise it because of this handle. It has a nice relief cut in the bell body as well. It sits nicely on the back of the forearm. You get a round body like the traditional cast iron bell, and you get a pinch point where that body makes contact on the forearm. This alleviates that. Another thing this does, when you use a fixed handle bell, there is a catch and release effect that happens when you do a snatch. So when you get to that sweet point, you're actually controlling the friction on the handle. Well, not with this handle. This handle I can bear down, and I've got active grip the entire time. And one thing about having an active grip is you're not doing this. On and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. What does this equate to eventually? Repetitive motion injury, tennis elbow, golfer's elbow. So if you've got active grip, chances of that occurring get reduced substantially. The swing, most basic. If you look, this is Erin. Erin was one of my coaches. If you look at her hips, she is hinging at the hips. She has soft knees, but you can see this is her center line. She is moving behind her center line, and then she is moving in front of her center line. All posterior chain recruitment when you're loading the hips. Also, you'll notice her posture. She is square through the shoulders. She is nice and tight. Everything is locked down. That bell is at chest level at the top of her pendulum, and at the bottom, it is through the legs. That downswing is just as important as that upswing. That's how we reload our hips. So for you to stop that thing short, you're cheating yourself. You're cheating the movement. You're not getting as much out of it. And believe me, if you don't do the movement completely, chances of going up in weight quickly go down. The swing is the most basic of movements. Posterior chain, one joint hinge, longer lever, multiple muscle recruitment. Now the arm is just a hook in this exercise. So there isn't a lot of activity going on in the arms other than just maintaining control of that bell. There are other exercises that'll give you that. Here's the clean. Finesse move. Drive more with the quads. It is tighter to the body. Well, I'll pick up that bar in a minute. Vertical power stroke alleviates torque in the wrist, elbows, and shoulders. Load is centered, which relieves lumbar strain. You notice she is here instead of out here. At rack, that thumb is in the throat. You're creating a shelf for the bell to sit on. This is an active rest position. It is not restful. There is nothing that is comfortable about this, but you're not moving. And that's why we call it active rest. or inactive. Press. We press from center line. When I press with a kettlebell, I press from rack. I stay inside. I call these are my goalposts. And I stay inside my goalposts when I press. That means I press straight up. My elbow doesn't deviate out from center line. The nature of this bell, it's odd load, hangs off the back of the arm. Just holding this bell puts torque in my joint, in my shoulder. So if I get my elbow out here, not only am I isolating, but I'm also torquing. So we press from here. This way I can recruit a lot more muscle. The closer I stay to center line, the safer the exercise is. Plus, like I said, I can recruit a lot more than just my delts to push this bell. And there is a rotation in my pressing motion. We press the full extension, bicep to ear. I should be able to see your head in front of your arm. This is not pressed to full extension. If you were to draw a vector down my arm, it would exit out my back somewhere and hit the floor behind me. That is not an efficient power return. If I am locked out, if I am bone on bone, I got my bicep to my ear, and I am completely overhead, I'm going to get a return benefit from that floor. Plus, I can hold this position a lot longer than if I was relying on just muscle to hold it here. That means my workouts can go longer. My weights can go up. I'm a big fan of the press. The squat, odd load. We hold the squat in rack position on the front of the body. Of course, there's always doubles, but even a single squat is tough because my body wants to pitch forward just because of the placement of this load. So I've got all this resistance. The other half of my body is definitely working. This isn't just about leg exercise. You got to know that my abs are bracing every time I drop. Just holding the bell here requires some abdominal bracing, as well as activation of this whole quadrant. So even in rest or rack position, there's a lot going on. You add a squat to the mix. Squats are tough. Squats with kettlebells, really tough. Double racking a pair of bells, big bells, especially if you've got conventional bells that are like great big cast iron tumors on the front of you. It's going to want to pitch you forward. You talk about building some spinal erector strength. Do some, it's front squats with a crazy load. High pull. High pull is a tough exercise. It's probably the most physically enduring exercise we do. There is no rest period. It is all go. And unlike the swing, it's similar movement pattern, but the upper body gets involved at chest level. So we swing to transition, elbow takes over. So it's like throwing an elbow strike every time you get through the top of your swing. You know what this is? This is a great exercise for baseball players. There's a deceleration component here that tough to find unless you're really setting out to do it and you're using resist-the-bands. Well, now I've got a real legitimate tool here that has some value because it's heavy. And I can work that deceleration pattern nicely. What's this? This is a post-surgical for rotator cuff rehab. This is post-surgical movement pattern. You need to re-strengthen this motion if you've had any kind of rotator cuff surgery. That's the high pull. Nice thing about that is the whole body gets involved. You're not just leaving it in the injured area. So Your limit isn't what the injured area is going to give you, it's what the surrounding body parts are going to assist with as well. Love to hate the high pull. It's tough. It's really tough. You get two of them going, one in each hand, smoker. Snatch, big ballistic movement. Hips, a lot of hip action here. This is taking power and grace and putting it in one nice exercise. Really, the snatch is the defining exercise for kettlebell, just like the bench press might be for conventional. This is the bench press of kettlebell. How much you snatch? No, you don't hear that. I'm just kidding. You hear how much you bench, right? All right. Promote shoulder flexibility. Just holding this bell, just holding it in an extended position. I'm not doing a darn thing, but boy, that's not entirely true. I've got all that activity going on inside my shoulder. So this may not be external activity I'm looking for, but all that stabilization that's happening because of the nature of this load. It's on the back of my arm. It's pulling me backwards. I'm pretty flexible through my shoulders. I carry a lot of muscle in my shoulders because of this, and it's flexible. It's one thing to be flexible and not be strong at that point of flexibility, but if you're flexible and strong, you win. Training with a bell, that'll give you that. I mean, you're using resistance training for your flexibility. Olympic lifts. All right, now I'm going to pick up this bar. Double cleans. I've got a pair of bells up here for this reason. When I do double cleans, I'm hanging these bells directly beneath my body. I get a little momentum, drive my hips to pull them up to rack. It's a fast move. Using a barbell, same movement pattern, different mechanics. Hips. I don't have the luxury of reloading my hips by swinging those bells through my legs. Look at the position of my elbows and my wrists and my shoulders. I don't have many years with this kind of exercise in me. But if I'm using a kettlebell, I've got this natural movement mechanically. Same benefit. I said I could teach you how to do this 3 minutes. Come find me. Try me out. I'm telling you, it's really simple. Short learning curve. Same benefits. You know what else you don't do? No heel stomping. We plant our heels. We drive with the hips. We don't use the heel stomp to generate out of the hole power. That means foot issues, not an issue. I've heard of plenty of injuries. Young athletes doing Olympic lifts from too much heel stomp. You get a foot injury, and that can be a career-ending injury. Floor cleans. I can pull these from the floor without any momentum, coil my spring, and explode. Reset. Those are my floor cleans. Floor snatch. You can do this with doubles or singles. Same sort of deal. Explosive. Very fast training. Double snatch. I can go inside my legs to get a lot of hip drive, or I can pull outside to get more of a triple extension. I'm going to be winded. Double jerk. No heel stomp. Double dip. Get your hips in. If you notice, my hips are always under my load. Even when I go to extension. Hips go back. Hips forward. Hips back. Push press. Chair press. You need to be seated to do that, so I'll skip that. And floor high pull. Explosive. Good stuff. Any questions while I catch my breath? Breathing? You know, I'm a martial artist, so I believe that breathing is certainly important in exertion, but I also take this stand. We breathe when we need to breathe. So to start splitting hairs and thinking, oh my gosh, I just did my last rep wrong because I didn't exhale at the right time. You know, I don't get caught in that. You can get a paralysis from analysis that way. I breathe. I certainly do find a lot of value in quick exhale behind the teeth, creating a vacuum even. Almost creates like a little extra power band inside of my stomach when I do that. So, yeah, good question. Anybody else? I'll just keep moving along. Size, time, and tempo. This is an equation that I use for myself. I use this for everybody. This is how I teach how to use a kettlebell to fit your needs. I can take a classroom with 30 people, 30 different athletic abilities, and by employing this size, time, and tempo equation, we can create a customized workout for them. So you can have freshmen training with seniors, even though the ability level, they're not on the same level. You can change the size of their kettlebell, the time that they're working out, or the time of rest, or the tempo. Now, tempo is something that probably doesn't get looked at very often. Set a cadence. If you know you have a minute to get so many reps done, figure out how many seconds break you need between each rep to set your cadence. So if I want to do 6 snatches in a minute every 10 seconds, I'm going to be going through my motion, and I'll be locked out in active rest until it's time to drop and do my next rep. So size, time, and tempo is a great way to create any workout, no matter what tool you're using. And you can take one workout and run it for a whole week, the same workout, and give it a different look just by altering those variables. How and why the body responds to increased demands. All right. These are the ones I just showed you. Same as cleans, only with 2 bells. Drives with quads, finishes with hips. Vertical power stroke. It's not radial, so I'm keeping tight to my center line and pulling straight up. Keeping the hips under the load. Floor cleans. This kettlebell hits the knee level, drive the hips forward. Floor snatch, it's dynamic and ballistic. Flexes at the ankles, knees, and hips. Triple extension. Great way to improve a vertical jump. Or leap. Drives hips hard and fast. All right, double snatch. Hips, 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 hips. I can't stress enough how much hip involvement exists in swinging bells. Arms, in this case, just stop the load. The hips get it there. Double dip, explosive punch to ceiling, push press, plyometric in nature, plyometrics, maximal force, minimal time. How are we doing for time, by the way? Five-two, we're almost there, right? All right, we are almost there. We punched a lockout, full lockout. Here's my chair press. I didn't show you what that looked like because I knew I had an illustration. You're seated on a backless chair. In rack position, the abs are contracted. We start to open up the abdominal wall. The torso extends as we drive up. You notice my hips are pitched forward, and then my pelvis rocks backwards at full extension. This is a great exercise if you have somebody who has a problem with scapular protraction, retraction. This is a great way to get them connected to that area in their back. Tough place to stay connected. You don't see it. You can't step up to the mirror and flex your scapulas. Postural muscle activation. Great, great postural exercise. Double high pull, explosive triple extension. Another triple extension. Back to my gym. So that's me. I didn't teach you how to do kettlebells. If you want to learn, you come find me. I'm around. I'll also come to you if you need that as well. I've been doing this a long time, folks. Arguably, probably the longest in the U.S. I mean, I've been swinging bells for over 25 years, and I'm going to swing as long as I can hold a kettlebell. It'll keep me doing what I like to do, and man, I like to play, so I need to make sure I'm healthy. Questions? Cleans. Teach them how to do cleans. In fact, when I run people through the learning process, there are 6 basics we teach in this order: swing, clean, press, squat, high pull, and snatch. So by the time I teach the squat, they've already learned how to clean it to position. If you can't clean a bell that size, you shouldn't be squatting with a bell that size. I guess that's my belief. But learn how to do the clean. The clean is a great way to get that bell into position and get ready for go. What I just spoke of, swing, clean, press, squat, high pull, and snatch. And there is a method to that. The swing, most basic. The clean, it's a finesse move. Now you're starting to learn how to roll that bell and control it. The press, now we're learning center line, staying on center, recruitment. Then we're going to squat. Squat's a little more of a grunt exercise, but there's control involved. So everything that's preceded that move are setting you up for that move. Finally, the high pull. Not finally, but second to last is the high pull. When I do my high pull, that bell is transitional at the top of my head. Now, when I go to my snatch, all I did was take over from where my high pull left off. I've got a weightless point that I can punch through. So that's why I give it that kind of ordering. Anybody else? Outstanding. Well, thanks. Thanks for the moment. Thank you. Oh. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
I want to get certified.
Yeah?
I don't know. I just got to figure out how to get it done. I don't know. Is there anything we can do through the website?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, if you come to my booth, I'll give you my information and we can start an email